My next guest is going to be taking on Josh Parisian coming up here at UFC Vegas 15 on November 28th. It is Parker Porter joining me here on the program for the very first time. Parker, how's it going, man?
It's going good, man. Can't complain. Life is peachy right now.
That's good to hear. First time we've done an interview, like I mentioned. I got to say right off the bat, you've got one of the best names in MMA, Parker Porter. I mean, that sounds like a detective from like the 80s or something. I think that's awesome. Do people give you compliments on that? I think that's a pretty badass name.
I do, actually. A lot of more often than not, people are like, "Oh, I really like your name." I'm like, "Thank you."
Good stuff, and it just rolls off the tongue too, which is awesome. But glad to see you get another fight here relatively soon after your last one. When did you find out? And I'm sure a lot nicer getting a full camp for this one as opposed to last time.
Oh, so much nicer. Yeah, I found out pretty shortly after Josh won the Contender Series. Actually, I think they set that up about a week later. So we've known about this for a little while now. So I've had a full camp behind me for this next fight, which is a nice change over the 9 to 10 days notice on the last one.
Right. Yeah, I know, a lot better. And I'm sure Josh is someone, because, heavyweight, there aren't like a ton of heavyweights on the regional scene, you know what I mean, as opposed to other weight classes. You were probably pretty familiar with him before taking this fight, right?
I am a little familiar with him. We actually both, he was on the heavyweight season for The Ultimate Fighter, and we actually both ended up trying out for that, but he got picked for the show and I didn't. But we were both
so is there a bit of revenge there? You're like, this is the guy that got on and I didn't. No, I'm joking.
Nah, it's not. I don't. Because honestly, like everybody talks about that show being like probably one of the hardest ways to get into the UFC, and like it doesn't look like it's not hard, to deal with. Everybody's watching every waking second every day. Spending that amount of time away. I have 3 kids at home and a wife, so like it would have been a pretty big, catalyst in our lives at that moment in time. So it might have, kind of happened for a good reason, I guess. But, we know who each other are, and we're familiar with each other, I think. And
I know you're a heavyweight, obviously, so, there's a lot more older fighters in that division as opposed to, say, some of the other weight classes. We never got a chance to talk before your debut. Was this, getting this opportunity, was this something you thought might not happen just because you never know with, there's sort of some politics in terms of getting signed and all that? When you got that call, like, what did that mean to you just to achieve this dream?
Oh, well, I mean, when I got that call, I thought I was dreaming because, first of all, it was at like 3 o'clock in the morning when my manager called. I'm sleep deprived because my youngest son at the time was 3 weeks old.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, yeah, we were getting like no sleep. And with the whole pandemic hitting and everything, I thought like the path that I was currently on, I was like, all right, like maybe – a local title shot for CES, which is the promotion that I was fighting for, and then maybe defend it once and get my shot on the Contender Series and get in that way. And that was the process that I had in my head. And then the pandemic hit and shut everything down. I turned 35 during the quarantine, and I'm just like, well, this might not become a reality for me at this point. I'm reaching that point where if I'm not already in, it's going to be really hard, if not impossible, to actually get in. And then I was just absolutely blown away when my phone rang and they're like, yeah, you're in. You want this fight? I'm like, well, duh. Yeah, of course I want the fight. Yeah. Sign me up.
Good for you, man. Well, that's great. I know the debut didn't go your way, but like we mentioned, really weird circumstances. We're in a pandemic, short notice fight. And you fought a really tough guy in Chris Dawkins. I mean, we saw that in his last fight as well. He got a really nice win there. What did you take away the most from that debut that you're bringing into this fight?
Honestly, even though it didn't go my way, I felt like it really solidified my thought that I belong there. Like you said, really, really kind of weird circumstances, really spur of the moment. Everything in Connecticut was still kind of like shut down where I live, as far as gyms going, and we were still really restricted with the capacities in which we could operate. I had just changed gyms actually right around that time. About 4 weeks prior. So my training schedule wasn't as optimal as I wanted it to be, not even remotely. And then this time around, I have a full camp behind me. And, I was like, well, I obviously had a less than optimal performance my first time through, but, I got my foot in the door. And that was on essentially like a garbage training schedule that I've never competed on before. I was, 290 pounds. I ended up having to cut 25 pounds of weight to make weight, which I've never done before. It was a lot of first time experiences. So, I managed to keep my head above water for the most part and do well, better than Chris's next opponent did against him. And it just really kind of made me more confident that, with a full camp and with a regular training schedule and actually just being ready for a fight, this is exactly the level I belong at.
Let's talk about Josh. 13-3 record. How do you feel like you match up against him here?
I think he's going to be pretty good, man. I think it's going to be a good matchup. He's tall. It's going to create some issues for me striking wise, I'm sure, trying to close distance, trying to make sure I can get inside without getting tagged up. He's got some heavy hands. He's had some KO and TKO wins. I haven't seen too much from him on the ground though. I think it's just going to be a good matchup. I think it's going to be, I'm definitely going to be a lot faster than I was in my debut. I was pretty sluggish. I feel a lot better. I'm about 20 pounds lighter now.
Nice.
Walking around at like 270 for this. So yeah, I got straight back to work once I got home from Vegas that first time around. I was like, this can't be the way it goes for me the next time around. I got to make a change. So we've been working really, really freaking hard over here, and I think we're going to surprise him.
Well, that was going to be my question. You mentioned switching gyms. Where are you training right now, and who are some of your main training partners?
I'm actually out of now with Ed Thornton over at Thornton's Martial Arts and Fitness in East Hartford, and one of my primary training partners is Will Knight, who also just made his UFC debut.
Nightmare, man! Looked outstanding in that fight.
He's a beast, man. Kid's an animal. A lot of natural talent, a lot of just raw power. Like, he's gonna go far. Mm-hmm. You keep an eye on him.
Yeah, and I know he's a light heavyweight, but still, that must give you a lot of confidence getting to work with a guy like him who's so talented. And in some ways, it's can be tougher than the fight getting to work with a guy that that exceptional.
It's true. I've got a good group of guys between Will, my wrestling coaches. I got a solid group of guys around me that are always, willing to gang up on me and put me in the Shark Tank and try to drown me essentially, and make sure that fight is not going to be nearly as hard as any of the training I've gone through.
And then you talked about the cut. Obviously, that's going well. Is that also? I mean, I'm sure this conditioning as well, but I'm sure the diet, is that being cleaned up a little bit ahead of this fight? Just because you mentioned dropping all the weight.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like you said, we were in the middle of the pandemic. I had the mindset of like, well, I'm probably not going to get another shot at this. I'm just kind of like eating and drinking and doing whatever I want to do with my diet and just kind of like living life. I got a brand new baby and I'm just like, pizza sounds good. I don't feel like cooking. I'm tired. So, definitely tighten things back up on that aspect. And I'm definitely not being as lackadaisical there. But like I said, really one of the biggest things was having, all the restrictions that they had put on with gyms being open and not really having anywhere. Everybody was kind of like afraid to like go against the rules and regulations because they heard, this place was getting shut down or that place was getting shut down and fined and all this stuff. So nobody really wanted to kind of roll the dice on that. And we all just kind of suffered because of it.
Who's going to be in your corner for this fight?
It's going to be my same group of guys as last time. I got Kia Galampour as my wrestling coach. Dan Freychek has been my longtime cut man and good training partner. And now Ed Thornton, owner of Thornton's Martial Arts. He's under Mark Delagrati and over at Sit Yat Tong.
Fantastic. How do you see the fight playing out on November 28th? Obviously, it's heavyweight, probably going to see a knockout, but how do you envision the fight playing out?
I think it's going to be another first-round fight. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going in to win any way I can, whether it's a knockout, a sub, decision. My goal is to get out there and get that W, no matter what it takes.
You talked about, obviously, busy schedule for you heading into the fight. You got 3 kids and obviously training and all that. Do you get any downtime at all, or is it mainly just, looking after the baby and everything else? Very little at the moment. Okay.
I'm fortunate enough that my wife is still on maternity leave, so she's been able to help a lot with taking the load for watching the baby and getting up with them at night, so I can make sure I'm getting a good enough sleep. Not the best because I'm still waking up a little bit, but she has been spearheading that. So she's been my saving grace and the real unsung hero of this whole fight camp. But I actually had a chance this past Saturday for the first time in like 2 months to actually just be like, it's my me time. I'm just gonna go decompress and just relax, and I just hung out and like watched TV and played video games, and like everybody just kind of left me alone, and it was blissful.
It's the best. It's the best. I can relate as a fellow dad. I only have one kid. My son's 3 years old, but I need that like time to just, decompress at night if it's, long day of work and then, everything else. So it's, I hear you on that, man. Totally.
That
now I got a
reset button.
Yes, exactly. Very, very good way of putting it there. Now, before we go, I am Canadian and I got to bring up, you mentioned, Hartford, the Hartford Whalers. That was like the coolest team when I was growing up. Did you ever watch any of the Whalers games back in the day?
I did. I actually got to go to one. They were still here when I was a little kid. My dad and my uncle took me to one game. I think I was probably like 4 years old.
Yeah.
And I just vaguely remember going into the Hartford Civic Center to watch a hockey game and then coming back out and like hearing the roar of the crowd because they had just won as we were leaving. As my, parents with little kids, they want to probably get a head start sometimes when they're waiting for everybody to leave.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was we missed that. We talk about it all the time. You see Hartford's Whalers logos on.
It's such a good logo and a good jersey. I love those colors with the green and the gray. Yeah, it's outstanding. And the Brass Bonanza, that song. I don't know if you've heard it. You can YouTube it after, but they had like their own theme song as well too, which is awesome.
Yeah, it was incredible. Yeah, we missed that a lot.
Yeah.
We got the.
They got to get another team. You know what? I think they could support another team if they, because we're hearing now with COVID, some of these ownerships and some of the Sun Belt states are struggling. Bring it back to Hartford. I would love to see the Whalers back.
I would too. We'd be more than happy to have them.
And there's that great line from Mallrats. I don't know if you've seen that movie where have you ever seen Mallrats?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, with the line where he's like, Hartford, the Whale, they're up 12-0 on the Canucks or something, which I thought was hilarious.
Yeah. That was that's
one of my favorite movies. And I'm from Vancouver, so obviously the Canucks, we were losing in that game, but it was pretty interesting. So anyways, had to get that in. Really, really glad we got a chance to chat today, Parker. Really appreciate it, man.
My pleasure, man.
Anyone you want to thank, any sponsors, any social media you want to plug, the floor is yours, man.
I just want to thank, obviously my team, like I said, Kia, Golampur, Dan Freychek, my coach, Ed Thornton, all these guys, my wife, Tyson over at Top Game Management for helping me get where I am and always helping to make things easy on the paperwork side of things and keeping everything super organized and giving me the opportunity to just focus on what I need to do, which is train and get ready to get that W.